Good day, everyone. I am Eliza May Castillo, an alumnus of the School of Industrial Engineering and Engineering Management at Mapua University. Today, I will be presenting our paper about the factors influencing the intention to enroll in the online academic year among undergraduate students in the Philippines during the COVID-19 pandemic. But before I start with our discussion, I would like to mention that this paper is a fruit of research collaboration of Mapua University with different universities in Indonesia. So here's the agenda of my presentation. I will start first with how the COVID-19 pandemic affected the education system in the Philippines as my introduction. Next is the theories utilized in this study, then the results and discussion. Lastly, the conclusion and limitations of this study. One of the most recent public health emergencies of global concern is the COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in the disruption of the educational system in the Philippines, especially in higher education institutions. With the various lockdowns that ensued, limitations in physical contact and mobility have made institutions shift to different e-learning platforms such as the Zoom meetings, virtual classrooms, Blackboard, Coursera, etc. On July 17, 2020, the Department of Education in the Philippines recorded a total of 21.3 million students enrolled in public and private schools, which represents 76% of the enrollment for the academic year 2019-2020. However, many pointed out that the Philippines is not yet ready for an alternate solution to education, noting a shortage of secure provincial internet connectivity and the need for effective telecom infrastructure. Hence, there is a lesser student enrolled in regions located in Visayas and Mindanao compared to Luzon. This is evident in the data shown on the screen. In addition, some studies discuss that Filipinos tend to perpetuate the status quo instead of incorporating adjustments in the process of training and learning systems, primarily due to underdeveloped technology and high cost. Now, moving on to the research gap, despite numerous researches on how effective the coherent precautionary school closures are in limiting COVID-19 transmission, there is still a significant lack of academic research addressing the adoption of online learning in higher education in the Philippines. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to identify the factors that affect the intention to enroll in the online academic year during the COVID-19 pandemic in the Philippines by integrating theory of planned behavior and technology acceptance model. Now moving forward to the methodology of this study, one of the theories that were integrated into the development of the conceptual framework is the theory of planned behavior. This theory assumes that individuals act rationally based on their attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. Next is the theory of technology acceptance model, which suggests that both perceived ease of use and the usefulness of technology affect the behavioral intention of an individual, thereby affecting the final user experience. Moreover, it could be assumed that individual participants in online learning sometimes choose how, when, and in what ways they want to engage. And since online learning is the new normal in the Philippines in terms of education system, an online survey was distributed in compliance with the Commission on Higher Education's protocols of no mass gathering and social distancing. A total of 370 undergraduate students located majority in Luzon answered the questionnaire, which contained 71 questions. Among the 370 participants, 30% of them were in their fifth year and 26% were in their second year. The questionnaire is composed of 14 sections, following the conceptual framework to evaluate the factors that influence the intention to enroll of undergraduate students in the Philippines. A 5-point Likert scale was also utilized to measure all the latent constructs that were included in the conceptual framework. This study utilizes structural equation modeling to demonstrate the causal correlation between the constructed latent variables. All hypotheses were found to be significant, indicating that the integrated theories in evaluating factors influencing intention to enroll in online education during the COVID-19 pandemic were highly accepted. Based on the result of the SEM, attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control had a significant direct effect on perceived usefulness. This would mean that the students who have a sufficient extent of self-confidence to adapt to online learning during the pandemic usually have the resources to enroll. On the other hand, some students are greatly motivated to participate in online learning when most of the other students they are acquainted with are in favor and believe that online learning platforms could be used as an effective substitute for the educational tool. It could be interpreted that these learners exert a positive attitude towards this setup and like the idea because they are more comfortable in participating in online learning rather than traditional learning. Therefore, educational regulators must ensure to implement policies that are convenient, time efficient, and is useful in acquiring new knowledge towards courses offered. Perceived usefulness had a significant direct effect on the engagement of individuals, while perceived ease of use had a significant direct effect on the perceived performance of individuals in online learning during the pandemic, which makes several interpretations. First, students find it useful when professors can accommodate them during online lectures. Second, students also find online learning convenient in acquiring new knowledge when they can contact their professors outside of their class schedule for extra assistance. And lastly, it was seen that online learning is viewed by students as time efficient because it allows them to learn in their style at their own pace. SEM also indicated that engagement and perceived performance had a significant direct effect on the perceived effectiveness of online learning during the pandemic, which proves that cooperation and collaboration between students and professors are important to the success of learning. Students are more likely to engage and be more motivated to learn during online classes when they relate to their professors. They think that online learning is effective when lectures are entertaining and engaging. It is perceived as an effective substitute for regular classes during the COVID-19 pandemic since most of the students think that this new normal will maintain them active in school. Additionally, the result also proves that learners who have low performance during online learning are often associated with students who have little time allocated for studying, lack of alignment between the instructor's style and the student's learning style, and lastly, lack of source availability. And finally, it was found that the perceived effectiveness of online learning had a significant direct effect on the intention to enroll of students during the pandemic. Students are willing to enroll and participate in online learning because it is accessible and it's an effective way to gain knowledge. Moreover, these students want to be active in school and like the idea of learning and keeping their brains active amidst the pandemic. Thus, we can conclude that the effectiveness of online learning would support the students' willingness to adapt and enroll in online learning. The final model of this study is shown at the left side of the screen. 6 clusters of measurements were utilized to analyze the model fit by following the previous studies. The different parameters that would indicate the acceptability of the model are also listed on the table. So based on the result, we could say that the constructed framework is a good model fit since the parameter estimates met the suggested cutoff. And now moving now to the last part of the presentation. Now for the key findings of this study. Attitude was found to be the best predictor for perceived usefulness, while convenient is the best indicator for perceived usefulness. Online learning platforms is the best indicator for perceived ease of use, while engagement was found to be the best predictor for perceived effectiveness. For the limitations of this study, first, The current study focused on the intention of the students to enroll rather than their experience during online learning. For future studies, it is recommended to correlate the performance of the students to their intention to have a holistic overview of the intentions of students to enroll in the online academic year. This study could also be utilized by different universities to employ and advertise the promotion in their current system to enhance the number of enrollees in the future planning. Second, this study was done during the COVID-19 pandemic. Results may vary for studies that would consider learning online despite the availability of traditional learning. And lastly, our samples were gathered through an online questionnaire for students located in Luzon only. Future studies to consider the students in other parts of the country given the situation in rural areas. And that ends my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.